Hey, Ormond here with your forecast for the first week of March 2021. We're going to do it from Monday to Sunday. Now I know you're saying to yourself, hey, where's he been? What happened? Well, I had a little bit of technical problems. That's why I'm on my other computer in a different place, but I've solved the problems. You know, they were not really that hard to solve when I really thought about it. But I thought maybe the universe was telling me something when it said to not do videos when, after all, my computer broke. And then I thought, well, maybe it was trying to tell me something else. But anyways, whatever it was trying to tell me, not so important, because I'm here to talk to you about the week of March 1st, 2021. So what's true for this week is what's true for every week for the past few months and going forward. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to share screen over here. It's crazy, but I'm going to do it. We're going to get really high tech over here. And I am going to show you what our planets look like this week. And you see, that's not what they look like now. It's what they look like on Sunday. So this is where we are right now, even as I speak. And what we have is almost all the planets are locked between Pluto in late Capricorn and Mars in late Taurus. That's within a third of the zodiac. Everybody's bundled together. And so what happened, same thing as what happened last year, is that all the planets are bundled together. The only planet that can get away from the group is the moon. And so we have the same pattern that takes place every month, where the moon goes in with the other planets. Everything is all smushed together. And at that time, it's a very active time. Now it's a new moon, and you would expect it to be kind of not so active a period of time. But it's an active, sort of frenetic type of time where you don't really know what's going on. It's like when you're really busy. You know how when you're really busy, things, it moves quickly, you make decisions in the moment and stuff like that, but you don't even really notice the way time is passing and so on. It's just everything is happening fast. Well, it's like that. And then when the moon gets past Mars, and even further when she gets past the north node of the moon, because not only is everything contained within a third of the zodiac, everything is contained within the nodes, on one side of the nodes. So then after that week where the moon is with all the planets together, so 10 days where the moon is with all the planets together, she pulls away and goes through this part of the zodiac here, goes through Gemini, Cancer, Leo, maybe let's count Virgo. And this is where we were last week. And this is, getting past there, it's like a breath of fresh air. It's the sense of like, here we are, out of the box where everything is tightly pushed together, and you start to get a little bit of fresh air. And then you can start to get a little bit of perspective on things, and that's where we were last week too. We start to get the sense that there is some space between us and what's going on in general, that we to the full moon, the sun opposite the moon, but the moon is opposite all the planets. And it's time to go back and look and see where things are, and you have a sense of perspective about things. And then, and here comes this week, the moon starts heading back in and starts heading back towards the other planets, and you start to feel a little bit of that sort of folding up of things. Now that tells us, let me stop sharing over here, you can just see me. So what that tells us is that we're at a point where you are evaluating what to keep, where to reinvest your energy, and where to let go of things. That's the basics of this week. The moon will go through Libra, still very much a perspective type of thing, still very close to being full, still yet to be opposite Uranus and Mars. So there is still some of this kind of perspective getting and sharing. And then the moon will go into Scorpio, which is always a little bit tight. It's going to be opposing, this time it's going to be opposing Uranus. And that has a little bit of a jangly kind of feel to it. But again, it's a great time to decide. So you think about maybe midweek towards the end of the week. It's a great time to be deciding where you want to put your efforts and where you don't want to put your efforts anymore. So I think Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, very good for that kind of assessment, because we're going back into the crucible. We're going back into that spot where we don't have that much in the way of perspective. We don't have that much in terms of the ability to see things clearly. So we want to know as much as possible before we get to that point exactly the process that's taken place this week. The first couple of days of the week, we have the moon in Libra. So Monday, Tuesday, moon in Libra, good for assessing things, good for talking things out. Get other people's perspectives. Ask them what they think. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, much more, Wednesday, Thursday, much more kind of decisive time. Well, yeah, I shouldn't necessarily say that, because we have the last quarter moon in Sagittarius as we get to Friday and Saturday. Again, that's the time to be making decisions, the time to say, this is not so much, this is so much. Is it something or is it nothing? If it's something, you're going to reinvest in it. And if it's nothing, you're going to let it go. And then when we get to the weekend again, then we're going to be, we get to Sunday, we'll be in Capricorn. And at that point in time, really the door is kind of closing. So what you want to do is come into this week with an open mind and a fresh perspective, get information as you need it, and make decisions. And implement those decisions and get ready to implement those decisions towards the end of the week. Be aware that the next 10 days, starting from next week onwards, we're going to be into this spot where it's not going to be so easy to make decisions. So better to do it now. It's going to be better to do it now. There's some real foggy energy next week, but we'll talk about that next week. So you want to have a clear head. So do what you need to do to have a clear head this week. The good thing is it doesn't really matter what you're talking about. You're talking about work, relationships, creativity. You're talking about anything. You've got the same exact story, because all the planets are together. They really can't do much more than conjunct each other, maybe make a sextile. Yeah, you got a little bit of a trine going on there with Pluto and Mars, but there's really not a lot of options for movement. We're going to get some of that as we get into later March, but for right now, everything is kind of scrunched together, and the moon is the only planet that's really able to make any sort of changes. So decide what's working and what's not. Decide where you're going to invest yourself and where you're going to divest yourself, and then put it into action as soon as possible. And just keep in mind that when it comes to the weekend and beyond, or beyond the weekend, not going to be so great for making decisions. So do it now. And I'll see you next week. I guess there'll be no decisions to make.